You've probably heard about NAD Plus injections by now, at least when your Instagram feed looks like mine. A lot of women in their 40s are posting about their NAD Plus injections, like probably they're the new matcha. And if you've ever thought, do I need to inject this stuff as well to stay young? You're definitely not alone. And here's the question no one seems to be asking. Do they actually work? And more importantly, do you need them? So I've done the digging and the science so you don't have to, and all you need to do is watch this video, so let's go. Hi, I'm Dr. Kerstin, a former heart surgeon now helping you live longer, work smarter, and lead better. And I'm your host of the Have It All podcast, where we talk all things about performance, longevity, leadership, and lifestyle. And this episode particularly is for anyone who is curious about NAD+, is interested if NAD+ is really the secret to their energy levels, and wants the science and the is it worth it? And I'll break it down in this episode what NAD+ actually does, whether you should care and who really benefits. And yes, we'll talk side effects and risks too. So let's start. What is NAD+? So when we have a closer look to our bodies, we find out that it runs on energy. So no surprise here, because every cell in you needs fuel, and not just to move or to think, but to repair itself, fight off stress, and to basically stay alive. And NAD+, that's the short form of nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. So I know we probably don't need to know that, but it's NAD+. It's a vital coenzyme found in all living cells. And you can probably think about it like the battery fluid that helps to keep your cells going. And it's a molecule that powers your mitochondria. Those are the little energy factories of your cells, and it helps fix damage in your DNA. So it's basically like a tiny mechanic working 24/7 in your body. And as we age, and that's why NAD+ has come onto the longevity scene, our NAD+ levels, they drop a lot actually. And studies suggest that our NAD+ levels can decline by up to 50% between youth and middle age. The exact rates vary. Of course, it's always highly individualized. But I know probably what you're thinking right now. Where can I buy it? But hear me out. That decline we're seeing in the NAD+ level, so what it does really do in our bodies is it's linked to fatigue, to slow repair processes. I told you before that NAD+ helps repairing DNA damage, so it slows the repair processes down, and even early signs of aging and disease are linked to the decline in NAD+. So that's where the hypothesis came along, that boosting NAD+ might help you to feel more energetic, to recover better, and support long-term cellular health. And yeah, I think that sounds amazing, right? But let's look at how to actually do it and whether it's worth it or not. So when we have a look out there, IV NAD+ has become particularly trending. I see all those they look like EpiPens or diabetic pens, insulin pens, popping up in Instagram stories where people injecting them front, right, and center. And the clinics, they promise brain boost, they promise detox and reverse aging. And so that's why I dig deep into the peer review research and reality. So peer review means basically that your research has been reviewed by peers, so like fellow researchers, and they had a look at the study design, at the statistic use. So basically, is the study legit or not? And so those studies I have gone through in order to make this video. And to make clear, there is no strong evidence that IV NAD+ is better than the oral precursors. And in fact, there's even a debate whether IV NAD+ even reaches the cells efficiently. And IV is coming with more adverse effects like nausea and dizziness. So why to stick a needle into your body then? That's at least what I'm asking myself, as I hate needles. Yes, I'm a surgeon, I know, with no problem of cutting into patients. But needles and me, different story. But back to NAD+. Most of what we know comes in the studies from the oral form. So I talked about the precursors before. Precursors are basically, they are forms of NAD that are in a not activated way and will be activated in your body. And those forms are NR, that's nicotinamide riboside, and NMN, that's nicotinamide mononucleotide. And as said, those are the NAD plus precursors, meaning that your body turns them into NAD plus after digestion. Human studies have shown this NR and NMN orally is safe and effective, with some small-scale studies show potential benefits like improved insulin sensitivity and energy metabolism. But findings are really preliminary and not universal at the moment. And here's the key. In one study on NR, improvements in the physical performance were observed only in men, but not in women, actually. So I'm asking myself why a lot of 40-plus women are taking NAD+, are looking into when it's not even really proven that it helps women as well. And almost all studies I've found have very limited sample sizes, like around 40 people and lower, which means that might not be representative. Furthermore, what we still have to account is that we still don't have long-term data. And that is with most of the longevity drugs and supplements because of the nature of the specialty of longevity being relatively new. So we don't have like 20-year-old data where we see patients during that term and those 20 years. So that's what we don't have at the moment. But in this case, in the NAD plus case, we are more talking about months, not years, in form of the long-term data we do have. And there is a more important risk to take into consideration from my perspective, actually, because NAD plus, as talked about before, potentially elevates your energy level, and it can further fuel cell growth, which is good for repair, what we want for longevity, but potentially not great for tumors, meaning it could fuel tumor growth, and we definitely don't want that, do we? So just to make it clear, there's no evidence that NAD plus causes cancer, but it can potentially lead to a faster growth of the tumor. So now, what's the verdict? What do we do with NAD plus? Take it, leave it, oral versus IV? If you're generally healthy and you just want to support longevity naturally, you probably don't need to supplement. Better focus on lifestyle strategies that preserves your NAD plus levels naturally, and we'll get to those in a second. But if you're dealing with fatigue, with burnout, with chronic conditions, or are over 60, then please speak to a doctor and a longevity specialist first, because you probably need blood work that might help rule out other issues first, like with vitamin B12 deficiency, thyroid issues, or inflammation markers, and then talk about taking NAD plus with them and make a plan together with them. As I touched briefly, how do we preserve our NAD plus levels naturally? So here's actually what the research supports and what I personally focus on and would suggest you do too. First is sleep. You heard it before, I will say it again. Sleep is when your body repairs itself, and NAD plus actually gets to work during the nighttime, during your sleep. So if chronic sleep deprivation actually drains your NAD plus stores, and so please aim for 79 hours of sleep, track it with a wearable, and actually respect your bedtime. The second thing to do to preserve your NAD plus levels is strength training. Yes, exercise, especially strength training, increases NAD plus levels naturally. So it's your natural booster and you don't need to supplement. And there's a couple of other nice side effects as well, as I've talked before in a couple of my videos about the basic longevity principles. And strength training, it's free, mostly no subscription, no IV drip, and no clinic needed for this one. And then the third, how to preserve your NAD plus levels, is fasting within reason. I know for some people it works, for some people it doesn't. So listen to your body, but time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting can stimulate NAD plus production. And you definitely don't need to starve yourself. Probably even a 12 to 14-hour overnight fast can help in these circumstances. And if you really want to try supplements for NAD, please go for NR and NMN. So NR is more studied, it's long on the market, so the precursors orally and NMN orally as well. It's newer, it's maybe a bit more promising, but definitely less data than NR. And stick to brands that actually publish third-party testing and doses around 250 to 500 milligram a day are most common and have been shown to be safe to do. And avoid mega doses. More isn't always better, and we just don't have the long-term safety data yet, so be careful with that. So is NAD Plus worth the hype? If you're optimizing for longevity, yes, it can matter. If you're tired, burned out, or over 60, it's probably worth understanding. But if you think one IV drip will reverse your stress, your diet, your burnout, your bad habits, save your money, then start with sleep, train your muscles, and eat real food. So those have a much more impact than supplementing NAD. So after optimizing your lifestyle, your sleep, your strength training, maybe fasting, if you want to go deeper, try supplements under medical guidance. In the case of NAD+, I would highly recommend going for oral supplementation, not IV. And as said before, better effectiveness, more studies, and therefore probably the safer. And overall, my longevity rating for NAD+, it's probably 4 out of 10. So I would say dial down on your sleep, your strength and nutrition first, and that will have a far greater effect on your energy than any supplement you can take. So yeah, what about you? Are you taking NAD, NAD+, any precursors? Let me know your experiences in the comments. I'd love to know that. And as always, if you liked today's episode, please leave me a like and subscribe and share it with a friend you think that needs to hear this. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I see you in the next one.